Hello, Ocean View fourth graders. Today we're going to work with our Scratchboard and do some Scratchboard art. And I hope you picked up your Scratchboard and your Scratch tool from Ocean View during the week so that you can do this project. Before we start, I want to show you some artwork by this artist. His name is M.C. Escher. He's very famous, mostly for the prints that he makes. And although this one on the cover is in color, I want to show you some amazing black and white artwork that he's done, including this piece here. This is an amazing piece with all of these heads and faces. It's called 8 Heads. You might go, oh, I see a lot more than 8 heads here. But if we look carefully, here's a little detail of one section of that piece. And I see 1, 2, 3, 4 heads. And if I turn my book upside down, I see 5, 6, 7, 8 heads. Do you see how they all fit into each other to make that very, very interesting designs with lots and lots of people's heads? And then he repeated it. Well, Escher was very good at making prints and woodcuts, which is something you use to make a print, and working in black and white. Here's one that's so interesting. It's called St. Francis. So St. Francis was famous for talking to the animals and the birds. And here he is. He has a halo, which makes him look very holy. But what's interesting is that some of the birds also have what look like halos. But are they halos or are they feathers? They kind of repeat his halo there. It looks like they could be real birds, like maybe that's an owl and maybe that's kind of a crane or a stork. And they all look real, but I think he made up some of these birds, that they're not actually real birds, but they look very real. And then we see this piece here, which is an important piece for our work today, this one here. And it's called the 5th day of creation, when it says that the fish and the birds were created. So what's interesting about this picture is that this half, the underwater half, all of the underwater creatures are white on black. And the top half, with the birds and things above ground, are black on white. Remember this picture, we'll come back to it, because today we're going to do something like this with an over the water and an under the water scene. We're only going to deal with the bottom half under the water for today's work. I want to show you just a couple of more things that Escher made, because as time went on, he got very famous for doing this type of work. It has a special name. It's a pattern. It's called a tessellation because the pieces fit together kind of like a puzzle. In this one, we see a bird on the top and a fish on the bottom. But as they move closer to the middle, guess what? The fish are turning into birds, and the birds are turning into fish. He liked to play around with ideas like that were interesting to think about. In this one, we see that Escher can draw very realistically to make hands look very real by putting lots of shading on them and drawing them so realistically, and drawing the shirt here and the arm with just simple lines. By doing this, it looks like these hands are popping right off the paper and drawing themselves. Here's another tessellation. This one you can really see how they all fit together. And this might seem like it would be simple to do, but if you look very closely at this black, white, and gray design, you will see that each one of these birds is actually in a different position, flying in a different way. Very hard to fit them all together so wonderfully like that. Here's one of my favorite Escher pieces. It's called Three Worlds. Can you find the three worlds? There's a carp that has its world under the water. And there are leaves that have their world on the surface of the water. We see a reflection of the other world, which must be out here, the tree's reflection. So the third world is out there, reflecting in. And I want to show you one more piece. It's this one. It's called Circle Limit. And to me, this speaks to infinity. I actually kind of think of this as the coronavirus piece because it's got bats and it's got angels mixed together, black and white. And they fit together perfectly, but they move out, out, out and get smaller, smaller, smaller as they get to the edge of the circle, so that it looks like they go on forever in that circle into infinity. Amazing. I wanted to show you that work by Escher, and I want to go back one more time to that piece with the birds and the fish, because it's time for us to make our art now, kind of based on this picture. And I call it Under the Water and Over the Water. Today we're going to work on under the water. So the first thing you need is your piece of Scratchboard. A piece of Scratchboard is really just a kind of thick piece of paper with some ink all over it, and the ink is dried. Then you need your tool, which I have in a little baggie for you. And looking at this tool, this actually is able to come off, and you can buy different points for it, but we only have one point to use. And then you can see that the half circle is how it goes back in and fitted snugly. I tried to put everybody's together for them beforehand so that you wouldn't lose the point. These points are easy to lose. You can use this rather like a pencil. So make sure your Scratchboard is in the up and down vertical position, the tall way, not the horizontal way, the tall way. Then with your eyes, say, okay, that looks like it's about halfway. And take the point and draw a line across. It's divided about halfway. It's not perfectly divided because I think I left a little more down here than up here. It doesn't matter. I don't have to measure it or use a ruler. And if it's uneven, it really doesn't matter. So we're going to work on this bottom part today, under the water. So what I want you to do under there, using this, and I'll show you two ways you can use this, is just to draw a lot of fish. I'm going to show you a couple ways to draw fish. Now you can either use that point, or this is shaped kind of like a spade. You can use that edge if you want a thicker line. This is a very helpful tool. So I don't want to go back and forth because that might pull off a bunch of the ink. But I just want to draw with it, kind of like a pencil. I'm going to leave room for a fin down there. But if I do that, fish usually have these big eyes, don't they? I'm going to put a little fin there. That's why I didn't fill it in. And let's give it a tail. Now, that's a fine fish, but you could give it some details here. Sometimes the details don't have to be quite as thick as the outline. They can be done quickly and more thin. Let's give it some details. Hey, you know what I forgot to put on this fish? The top fin. There. There, that fish is done. Oh, it's trying to breathe. So I'm just going to put a couple of bubbles there. Okay, that's not enough. What you want to do is fill up this entire thing with different kinds of fish. Well, let's think about what else could be under the water. How about a turtle? You can make yourself a turtle. Let's see. And again, you can just kind of make up a design for it. And let's give it some legs. A little tail. How about a jellyfish? These don't have to be things that normally would be in the same underwater environment. They can just be things that you think of that are under the water, but let's not put like a giant boat under here or a submarine. Sometimes people ask me if they can put people under here. And I kind of go like, okay, people, well, maybe if it's a diver or a mermaid or a merman. But let's not put SpongeBob under here. He's a cartoon. He's somebody else's drawing. Let's make this your drawing. You could also put the bottom of the ocean floor. Let's put a little coral plant or something down here. And you can kind of make these up. I'm just doing kind of curvy lines. If I do curvy lines, kind of looks like something's growing all around there, right? And you could put the sand down there. Maybe give it some little pebbles. And you can do the whole surface like this. Or you could think of other things to put down there. Maybe there's a shell. Or maybe there's a starfish. Let's put a starfish down there. They have 5 legs that stick out. And they have these kind of suckly things on the bottom like that. I don't know if it's a great starfish, but if you don't like it, you can always add more details to make it better. And even if you feel like you messed up on something, change it into something else. You can make it work. So you'll go on like that. What else could you put in here? Maybe you could put an octopus. You could put lots of big fish and small fish, both. Let's make this octopus. How many legs do they have? 8? I gotta fit some more legs, don't I? That's 4. Let's put one coming this way. 5, 6. Oh, and make them look like they're in the back. 7. I'm gonna put one more over there. 8. Okay, so you might put a few bubbles here and there, and you put many more fish. If you don't know how to draw fish, you can always do this. Here, I'll show you again. What you do, these are small fish. You can make many small fish. Make an oval. Give it an eye. Make an arch back. And do that. Give a top fin and a bottom fin. And then add details if you want. You could make many of these fish. So it's like a school of fish. The whole idea is to fill up this entire area. This would not be enough. So I have some I've finished here, like this one. Forget the top half, we're not going to do it, but I did do the whole bottom half. And I've done pretty much in this one here. On this one, I put some ducks. They're swimming on the surface. Now, if you want something to be right on the surface, I had a swan in that one, you can put it in there, and you can draw above the line to draw the whole thing if you want a duck in there. Let's give ourselves, I haven't drawn a duck in a while. Let's see. I'll give it a fluffy tail. Now, it's above the surface, but I can also draw what's below the surface, right? So it would continue under there, and it would have these webbed feet that help it swim. Go back that way. So, and it would have a wing there. So there's my duck. Not a great duck, but it's on the surface, but I'm not going to continue up here. You can draw things on the surface. So when you have filled this whole thing up, then here and there, you just want to come along. You don't have to draw all the way across, but here and there, just go right over the top of this and put a couple of wavy lines in so that we know that it's under the water. And you want to fill this up so much, like Escher did, that there's really not a whole lot of extra space. Hey, he has a seahorse in there. That's a good one. You could have a shark, or all kinds of things. So you want to have lots of underwater life down there. Give it a try. Make your underwater scene. And I'm going to give you my email so that when you finish the underwater part, and if you want to send me a picture of that, you can send it to me. Here's my email address for Ms. Mary, mernst@ausdk12.org. Now, before we finish, I want to put the steps on the screen for making your Scratchboard so that you can look at them and remember what to do. Have your Scratchboard in the up and down vertical position. Use the tip to draw a line halfway across the paper, dividing the top and the bottom. Then fill up this underwater part with many, many underwater sea creatures. I have listed some here, but don't bother drawing on the top. We'll do that next time. When you're all done, draw a few wavy water lines over your fish and underwater scene. Have fun making your Scratchboard, 4th graders, and continue making art. And send me a picture if you want to. Bye-bye.